Hi, welcome to the Agent Odyssey. I'm Matt Wyman, co-founder and CEO of Acario. Acario helps you simulate all sorts of conversations with agents through voice, chat, and text. Today, I'm really excited to have Morgan Mackenzie here with me. Morgan has an amazing background across a number of areas and is currently working in, well, the next generation of retail. Morgan, maybe you can tell us a bit about what you're up to.
Yeah. Well, hi, I'm Morgan Mackenzie. I am the founder and CEO of Simply Above Average. We help tall people find clothes that fit. The way that we do it is through our Discover tool, where you can select your size and inseam, find all the brands that work for you, as well as our tall fashion search engine, where you can search for jeans, size 32, inseam 36, and shop all of the products that actually fit you across 100 plus brands. With one click, you can add it to your cart. With one more click, you can check out. And the way I arrived at this point, I'm 6'2". I've been tall my entire life. And when I was 11, I told my mom I can't find clothes that fit me because I was 11 years old, 5'10", and everything was too short or just not the right fit. So I manufactured my first clothing line. I went on the Today Show to discuss this line. And while I was there, I told them, hey, I love to shop. I'm your number one supporter. But when I go to the store with my friends, my clothes are on one side of the store and theirs are on a completely different side. And as a result of that interview on the Today Show, JCPenney was the first to adopt this change. They created their Pretty Plus line and they also changed the racks. So when you walk into a store today and you see sizes 00 all the way to 18, that was the product of that interview that I did at 11. And so that showed me really early on in my life that I could have an impact in fashion. And so I begged FIT to let me into their courses. I was in middle school and they did. And so I continued down this journey of wanting to be a fashion designer. But by my third course at FIT, I was in my peak Justin Bieber phase and everyone around me was really unique. And I thought they had depth because they loved indie and rock. And I was like, hi, I'm Morgan. I love Justin Bieber. So that was strike number one. Strike number two, everyone was Picasso and they could draw all these elaborate designs. Me, I can't draw a stick figure. So I thought strike number two, you're out. And I pivoted my goal from wanting to be a fashion designer to wanting to work in finance. And I made my goal to work at Goldman Sachs. I followed that dream all the way to Duke University, where I studied economics and graduated. Before that, I did work at Goldman, realized, oh, the girl who made this dream at 13 is completely different than the woman that's here at 20 years old. So AWS reached out to me with an offer. I worked there. I did it full time. And about last year, I would walk into the office every day, look at my colleague and say, hi, look at my pants. They still don't go to my feet. My ankle's always exposed. So I would go home every day, research Reddit threads and Facebook groups to find brands that actually fit me. And after a couple of weeks of doing this, I had about 100 just on my phone. And I thought it'd be great if this was in one repository for everyone to use. And that was the initial thought behind Simply Above Average. The next thought was, what's better if you could select your size and your inseam and find all the brands that fit? So I had that idea on a Monday. By Wednesday, it was gnawing at me. Thursday night, I decided take tomorrow off and just think through the idea, see if it has any legs. That's what I did. I took Friday off. I wrote our 10-year plan. I mocked up the first website, wrote out our revenue stream to see, can I quit my job? And I texted my group chat and I asked, hey guys, I'm building a company. It's called Simply Above Average and I'm going to build it in 1 week. No. I did build the first iteration in a week, but I ultimately showed 3 friends, told the group chat, this company will span generations. And that means it requires more than 1 week to build it. Fast forward,
3.
3 would be good.
Yeah, well, one for each generation, right?
Exactly. And so ultimately, I left my job a month later. I spent the summer being a 23-year-old, enjoying myself, and started building in October. We officially launched in January of 2025. And since then, we've launched our MVP, hosted at New York Fashion Week, and built a team of 6. So it's been a really cool start.
That's amazing. I have so many questions. Okay, so I have a huge number of questions around fashion tech. But since you just talked about innovation and the innovation loop, particularly since you're pushing a boundary and the fact that you're really focusing in on a particular audience, a particular set of people that are really underserved, to your point, across the larger commerce world. Can you maybe talk to me a bit about like that iteration process?
Yeah.
That loop must have been really fascinating as you're trying to figure out, well, how do I actually help these folks really well?
Percent. And so I think to frame it, when you're starting a company, it's like you have to be passionate about what you're building. And I'm 6'2", so I'm always going to be passionate about tall people finding clothes that fit. And I think in this iteration process, I've used ChatGPT and Claude as my greatest collaborator. And so I love to tell my friends, if you have an idea, dump it in ChatGPT and ask for a game plan. What are the steps to get from A to B? Next, action on them. Try anything. And so I think while iterating, number one, I see the tall demographic is the best way to get into this broader global fashion industry. I mean, it's a $5 billion market that unlocks 1.7 trillion over time, and tall people have the greatest pain points. And so if we can solve fit for tall people, we can solve it for everyone. And so next, I think in terms of that innovation loop that you mentioned, whether that's identifying our best marketing strategies, I would go into ChatGPT and say, hey, this is my vision for the company. This is how it feels when people see us on social media. I think a really like specific way to hone in on that is thinking there's three main social media platforms: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. How should we show up on each of these platforms? And I would ask that exact question to ChatGPT. And what's great about that question is that you can see that Instagram is a great place to show your most like polished version of the company. Great for showing brands how the collaborations could look in the future. TikTok is for being organic and being your best self and just allowing people to interact with you in an authentic way. And Facebook, I think, is tremendous if you're in Facebook groups for getting real time feedback. So when you ask about that innovation loop, I've gotten my greatest feedback from Facebook moms. I'll post and I'll
That makes
ask
sense.
them for brands that they love. How are they shopping for their kids? What do you want out of the website? And if we're talking about screen time, parents sometimes have 10, 20 hours on Facebook as well. And they're constantly giving me updates. And it's great because I can go back on my laptop, code, and make some updates and say, hey, guess what, Gwen? I made this update. Please let me know what you think. So I think it's using AI to flesh out a game plan. From there, going directly to your consumers and asking, hi, what do you think? And doing that as efficiently as possible. I don't love to say quick because good things take time, but just ask. You won't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
As
then,
startups, it's amazing. As founders, just that willingness to go ask the question and just reach out directly is like a
yeah.
superpower. It's amazing how many folks won't. They're just
Hmm.
hesitant to ask that question that you're asking. You're also consumer facing. So you're using GPT to look at the iteration loop and potential
Hmm.
plans and potential approaches. But at this point, you have enough, I would think, structure around what you're building that you're starting to see the different parts of your business come together. Are you fine? Like, what does that architecture look like from a business standpoint?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of the architecture, as I mentioned on Instagram, we're using that as our greatest way to collaborate with brands. Brands are really specific about their identity, how they show up on other people's platforms. And so by having a buttoned up approach on Instagram, we've been able to have brands like the Frankie Shop reach out or like our post about them. The way that we had created brand partnerships for our New York Fashion Week show is because those brands saw our Instagram, they could see how we would hold and honor what they've created. And that's in turn turned into a huge partnership that allowed us to showcase our brand in year one on the greatest platform. And then I think in terms of the structure on other platforms, we've been able to learn more about marketing and paid ads. And so I think TikTok was a great tool to learn about keywords. If you ever use a TikTok ad, it'll give you keywords that you can then leverage on Google ads, or you can use that for your meta descriptions and alt text. And so I guess the best way I can say that is figuring out using AI how you can leverage each brand to learn something new about the business. And I had no idea that by boosting content on TikTok, I could find out these keywords. And that
Mm.
alt text would then improve our SEO. So it all works together in a really interesting way. But the first step is just trying, telling ChatGPT what you tried because the memory is great. It will remember things when you don't, and you can bring those conversations back to the surface.
So are you finding that there are certain areas that are basically entirely run by GPT? Not that there's a necessarily an autonomous agent. For the most part, you just go back to GPT, ask, basically I'm oversimplifying, but what's next? And
Um,
and I'm thinking, it could be marketing, could be supply chain management, it could be the website. Like, are there areas that are sort of more GPT amenable than others that you're finding?
That's a great question. There's a scholar that I love, Jan LeCun, and I won't call him a genius, that's a bit much, but he's really well known for his work in AI. And I think that we're over indexing on the power of AI and how smart it is at this point. We all know that LLMs hallucinate. And they hallucinate a lot. For instance, I was building a pitch deck and I asked for some data points. I put them in my deck and I went, wait, fact check? Do we have a source? And it gave me completely ridiculous data that didn't actually exist in real life. And so I think when we start to open the conversation to, allow agents to run your emails or allow agents to, we're talking about agentic shopping, and that's a new conversation. Um, will consumers allow an agent to find an item, purchase it, and send it to their home? We're not there yet. I think in order for that process to exist and for it to be something an everyday consumer is using, it needs to be consistent. Like it needs to work 9 out of 10 times, if not more than that. And I think we're 3 to 5 years away from that point. And so when you ask about, is there a part of the business that AI can completely own? I say no. But I think it's a fabulous collaborator that enables you to upskill quickly. And so, for instance, this summer, I up leveled my coding skills. I took AP Comp Sci in high school and I took Comp Sci 101 at Duke. But that was it. But through using Claude and ChatGPT and Cursor, I was able to develop a really robust taxonomy that's now the first fit intelligence layer that allows you to actually search and filter by INSEAM. Uh, so to your point, I think we are light years away from a completely agentic world, but I do think that it's a fabulous collaborator.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you describe sort of the technical side as an area
Mhm.
where the collaboration is really high. I'm hearing you say that you're using it in the sort of the larger business frame to see how experimentation and what are the opportunities and whatnot. But it sounds like maybe a little less in, say, outreach and other areas. And I think it's always this question of like, well, where are the LLMs and AI in general? Where is it giving us the most leverage? Like, where are
Yeah.
we actually seeing the most opportunity? And I agree with you. I mean, after all, my company is trying to help stabilize these agents, so I agree that I'm seeing a lot of
Thank you.
agents go sideways. I wouldn't exclusively say, okay, agent, you're responsible for X. I think they are, but I think the mental model of collaboration is an appropriate mental model.
Yeah.
I'd love to lean into this notion of the new retail experience because it makes sense to me that as people are using these collaborators to do research and look on the web and get information back, that's going to blend right into the e-commerce experience as well and the purchasing experience. But then I'm hearing hints that there may be something else going on there. So can you tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing in terms of
Yeah.
that blend?
100%. So fashion tech is booming. I mean, we are currently like getting to the top of this fashion tech mountain, and I'm very excited to see it happen. And as a 24-year-old shopper, I use everything. And so Daydream is one of the newest, the biggest on the street, and they're an AI shopping platform. Really chic. You can type in, hey, I'm going to a gala next week and I would love to wear something holiday festive. And they'll show you thousands of products across brands. What it's not able to do just yet is to really hone in on your actual size and your actual inseam and give you very specific data points. Because for one, that data has never existed.
Mm.
Um, and so, for instance, shopping was created 50, 100 years ago, and it was focused on the size of your waist and alphanumerical sizing. And so, in the back end of product catalogs, there's never been a column for inseam. And so at Simply Above Average, that's what we created. We figured out all of the ways in which brands store inseam and length data. And from there, we essentially wrote out this really robust taxonomy. Sorry to be so technical, but essentially making it possible for you to shop and fill that gap that not even AI can do. But what I think is super awesome about this age is that we're leveraging AI on the back end. And so allowing me to create that taxonomy. Something that I also think is that most consumers, there was a study done by McKinsey and Business of Fashion that detailed that only about 20 to 30% of consumers use AI every day. And I think shopping is such an intimate and personal experience that the average consumer isn't ready for it to infiltrate its life in that way. And my personal thesis is that we are 3 to 5, if not longer, years away before everyone's like, I love AI. I want a chatbot to find everything for me. And so, what we've done differently is we use AI to make the human experience better. I'm not forcing it down your throat on the front end, but we're leveraging on the back end to make a better shopping experience. Um, yeah, so I'll pause there. But essentially, the way I see retail going forward is finding ways to aggregate all of the brands on the internet into one repository, one space where you can shop, find the actual product that fits you, both your body and your preferences. And with one click, add it to one cart. And with one more click, check out. And so I think that's the best way to leverage AI right now in fashion.
You can also imagine, I mean, what part of what I'm hearing here and I'm imagining is if you can start to get the feedback from people about what did and didn't fit based on the input, then you can start to give people more focus and tuned sense of what's available and understand the differences between the different, if they go to this particular vendor for pants, it might be very different than the next. And that fashion sense, it's not consistent across different houses. They're always a little bit different from one another. So
Mhm.
then maybe you have a chance to close the loop and
Yeah,
provide people with that sort of, I'll call it the memory of not just what they like, but actually what works.
agreed.
And then get some similarities there. Can you tell
Mhm.
me more about like this whole world of fashion tech that you're seeing and you're leaning into as you look forward?
Yeah. So I think, of course, there's been thousands of women and men who are obsessed with fashion. And because we're in this age of AI, like it's just gone mainstream this last year, everyone's figuring out how can we leverage AI to make the experience better. Some people are focused on the secondhand market. How can we help users find, like FIA? FIA is an excellent fashion tech company that's focused on helping users find the cheapest price for whatever item they're looking for. Others are focused on occasion based shopping. So, how can we help you find what you want for date night or your holiday? And then you have companies like Simply Above Average, where we just want you to find what fits. I think at the foundation of shopping, I think it's great to get the fundamentals first. Similar to growing
Mm,
up and you had to learn addition and subtraction before you could do algebra, that's the same way that I envision fashion tech. But this entire industry is just focused on how can we leverage these tools in front of us to make the shopping experience easier and more fun. And so every company is attacking that same mission in a different way, and for us at Simply Above Average, we're like, let's do addition well. Let's rock
yeah.
and roll. And it sounds simple, but that's the point. The idea is that we did all of the hard stuff on the back end so that you're having a lovely experience. And we're focused on aggregation. There's so many companies doing a great job at what they do. And it's also a more sustainable practice. I mean, these API calls are one very expensive. It's very
Mm.
capital intensive. It's tough on our resources. So if we can be more intentional about how we're building Simply Above Average, that's better. I like it. I think it's great for the world. And I think users deserve to find clothes that fit easily. And they should be able to shop on The Row and Aloe and Gap and Kith all on one storefront. And they should be able to search through their products, see what they actually like, see how much they're spending. And we allow those brands to handle fulfillment and returns because, again, that's what they do. And they do it very well.
Do you get some visibility into that though? So you can help
And
use that data to improve?
100%. So I learned how to train an LLM over the summer and we're training it on this product data. We're eventually going to start training it on the actual dimensions and things like that so we can understand the true sizing across these brands and others, as well as be able to show these brands the data. Something we've learned is that less than 3% of SKUs are dedicated to tall shoppers. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's a very tiny amount.
That couldn't possibly match the actual population size.
No, not at all. And so by
Huh.
having that data and showing them, hey, we have the demand right here on Simply Above Average. We're seeing these search queries more often than others. We've also noticed that you're only carrying these brands, you restock in this time frame. We'll have actual data to support why they should increase the number of SKUs as well as the quantity of those. So that's something we're really focused on is leveraging all this data that we're collecting to better inform these brands, as well as allow them the confidence that they have a platform to sell it. And so we're saying, build out these lines, distribute it directly on Simply Above Average. And we know that you'll have an estimated result of X, Y, and Z based upon our calculations supported by this data. So data is really important to what we do in order to improve this issue.
So I know that one of the concerns that many retailers have is that their current practice is to use, on the digital side, is to use the various search mechanisms so as to sort of place the different necessary keywords to be discovered. And that with various GPTs available, that people are researching differently, sort of bypassing, if you will, all the keyword layer, which means that people can't, which means as retailers, they can't see what are people actually searching for, what do they actually need. And now there's sort of a struggle. Are you already, because obviously you sit in a position where you actually solve that problem
Hmm.
to a large, at least the way I'm hearing it, to a large degree, because you're already pulling it together, which means you're more, you're going to be the one found. Are you finding that the larger brands are concerned with this and are looking to you for that data pass through? I mean, is that a conversation that's already happening?
That's a great question. So the conversation hasn't started, but there's been murmurs of what do we do if we're not able to actually have this data within our actual platform. And so that's something that we're proposing to these companies and showing them that that's what we solve by working with us. And what's great is that our interests are aligned. I want you to have this
Absolutely.
information so that we can develop a better line and we can better serve our customers as well. And so no, so to answer your question, that's a really new conversation. There was murmurs in the industry, and it's now just growing this brand as well as positioning ourselves to be the one to have the conversation and solve it for them.
And pull it all together so they have the visibility. Absolutely. It's amazing to watch. Um, I don't know this market as well, obviously as well. But it's amazing to watch the similarities as everyone's sort of leaning forward to figure out, okay, which data set's going to be the critical data set and which one is the one that we suddenly lose access to.
Yeah. And I
Um,
think there's a lot of everyone's jumping to figure out how they can solve this problem. And so some people are heads down focused on GEO. Others are just focusing on social media and trying to pump out as many Instagram ads as possible to funnel people to their websites that way. And so it's been really interesting to see how brands are positioning themselves to stay relevant as well as at the top of the query or search results. And so I'm excited to see how it plays out as well. But we look to be the person they go to solve this issue.
and I think it's fascinating. I also don't really buy the idea that people are going to use chat interfaces to make e-commerce purchases. I know
Me,
there's a worry that they're going to get, you know, somehow, the aggregation is going to shift. But I think people want an emotional experience when they're looking for products. They don't just want
mhm,
a piece of chat text,
I
but it does
agree.
change what you're building on the other side to make
Hmm.
that connection and make it more adaptive.
It does.
Um, and I'm
Actually,
curious how, yeah,
oh,
no,
no. Oh, okay. Well, I was gonna say, actually, on that note, I remember midsummer, ChatGPT released their press release on, "We're gonna collaborate with Shopify, and we plan on releasing this tool." I was mid-coding, and I went, "Oh, great. GPT is releasing something that feels eerily similar to what I've benched my entire career on." Not that they stole it, of course not. It was one of those, "Okay, at least my brain is aligned with the biggest in the industry. That's a positive." But then my next thought was, people actually going to do this? And the way that I saw it was that there's Google, there's Bing, there's Yahoo. Every single search result has its own competitor. Um, and people have preferences. People love Bing for whatever reason. Others love Yahoo for the nostalgia. There's always another option. And the next thread on that was I don't think consumers actually want to interact with a chatbot. Even in terms of how I was creating Simply Above Average's website, the first iteration did look like a chatbot. I was so excited. I told everyone, I'm building a chatbot. And that's exactly what I did. It looked like it functioned like one. And then I realized I'm the shopper and I don't actually want to use this right now. It's too different. And so, even in terms of going back to the innovation loop and how am I iterating, I started out with the chatbot, realized maybe it needs to look like a search bot, like it needs to look like an actual search bubble. And maybe on the back end, it still works like a chatbot. So, that was my second iteration. And I went, that's kind of weird. And through, yeah, it's just weird. And then through conversations with friends, even in terms of like how I was building it, they're like, Morgan, you don't actually need all of that. Like for what you want to solve at its core, I mean, I think we've taken it for granted, but it's hard to find the actual clothes that you've asked for. If you go on Google Shopping and you ask for this size and inseam, they'll show you whatever they want to. It's not actually always in stock, which is what we've changed on Simply Above Average. I think if it's not in my size and it's not in stock, It's not my
Don't show
business.
it to me. Yeah,
Don't
exactly.
show it to me. And my goal was to just like allow users the opportunity to smile at every point of the shopping process. And it's such a simple idea. Just show me what I want. Show me what's actually there for me today. Um, and same with a lot of these AI tools. You'll ask for a very specific search in a very specific size. They'll show you whatever they want because their goal is to make sure there's results for you to interact with. Maybe you'll doom scroll and you'll eventually not realize that we didn't show you what you wanted. But I'm convinced that people to some degree know what they want and they want to see it. Then we can show whatever, but give them what they asked for first and make it as easy as possible to find it across as many brands as they want. And then we'll iterate from there. We'll get a little
Yeah,
funky
no,
with it.
I I love that. Particularly on the one side, I applaud using the new technology in different ways and just
Yeah,
experimenting with all the different things,
have to.
dynamic, rendering based on the AI and whatnot. But you said this earlier as well, and I 1000% agree. Like, start with the ABCs. Just like start with the basic math. I'm
Hmm.
looking for something. Show me the thing I'm looking for. You know what I'm looking for. Don't pretend you don't. You know, because I just
Hmm.
put it in. Like, just show me. Then we can go look at what can add in, what can come next. We can kind of develop from there. I mean, I do love the experimentation, but I think in this
Me too.
particular case, and I think there are many like it, the deeper experimentation is actually the data you're pulling together. It's actually
Hmm.
pulling together this information, and that's not and the speed with which you're going to market. That's the real value where the AI, I think, came in for you. Is like you're able to
Thank you.
move quickly, get to market quickly, validate it quickly. But on the consumer experience, and I love it. That's like make it straightforward. Try things. I love that you tried it, but like I think it's okay to be straightforward and then start to build from there and see where it goes. I'm
100%.
I wonder, as we think about that human experience, as you're thinking about obviously building a company using AI as a leverage point, as an accelerant, what are the skills? What are the new ways that we need to think and behave and operate to really embrace these changes that are coming?
Yeah, I think the greatest skill that anyone can have is to be curious. I have at the bottom
Hmm.
of my notes every day, like the greatest gift I can give myself is the courage to try. And so I think when it comes to AI, use it as a way to learn how to ask questions. We always talk about prompt engineering. That just means learning how to ask a question, figure out new ways to frame it, figure out how much context is required, learn how to be succinct, and realize it's a piece of technology. It can't judge you. So grow that muscle, develop that muscle, leveraging AI, and then take that muscle and use it in the real world. Use it with people on a day to day and continue asking questions. And so I think the people who will win and succeed in this age of AI know how to ask questions and they're just curious and they're comfortable in their curiosity. And so I think that's the greatest gift that AI has given us. I think it will amplify the human experience and human creativity. I mean, it's built off of our products, like of our brain. It's built on our literature. It's built on our art. And so the only way we can continue to build it and make it great is by being human. And so learn how to ask questions using AI, go out and be a human being and continue asking questions and go create something. If you don't know how, go back and start at number one, ask AI a question. Um,
I love it. I love it. And just implicit to that is, at least my hope, is that people also start to learn how to take feedback and try again. And feedback's okay. It doesn't mean
mhm.
the end of the world. Like, okay, maybe I'll change my ideas. Maybe I'll
Yeah,
learn something. God forbid that we
God
actually go in
forbid.
there and actually and try
Yeah,
something, put out an idea, and then learn. Maybe it's another way to frame this. Maybe it's another way to think about it. That's
100%.
fantastic. Morgan, thank you so much for the conversation
Thank
today. Really
you.
appreciate it.
Me too. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.